The din of clinking glasses and murmured conversations filled the dimly lit, upscale restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. Warm golden light reflected off polished wine glasses and gleaming silverware, casting a soft glow across the marbled tables. Waiters in crisp black uniforms glided across the floor, weaving between patrons dressed in tailored suits and evening gowns. At the far end of the room, near the grand piano where a musician played a mellow jazz tune, Emily Carter adjusted the tray on her shoulder, her lower back aching. She offered her usual tired yet polite smile as she took orders and delivered drinks with mechanical precision. It had been a long shift, longer than most, and her sneakers, though black to meet the dress code, were worn down at the soles. She hadn't had time to replace them. Every dollar counted. Emily moved toward table 9, scanning the reservation list in her mind. It had been marked last-minute VIP, no name given. The host had warned her someone important was arriving, someone they didn't want to disappoint. She took a breath, straightened her apron, and approached the table just as a man entered through the side entrance. He didn't need to say his name. Everyone in the city recognized him. Alexander Drake. He was taller than he looked in photos, with neatly combed salt and pepper hair and a presence that turned heads even in silence. His tailored navy suit fit perfectly, the subtle glint of an expensive watch on his wrist catching the low light. He gave a polite nod to the host before sliding smoothly into the leather booth at table 9. Emily's breath caught, but she forced herself to approach. "Good evening, sir," she said with practiced calm. "Welcome to Elan. May I get you started with something to drink?" He looked up, his eyes a steely gray, assessing and sharp but not unkind. "Sparkling water. Room temperature. No lemon." "Of course," Emily replied, scribbling the note even though she'd remember it easily. As she turned to walk away, Alexander reached into his coat and pulled out a sleek black wallet, flipping it open to retrieve a black card. Without looking, he extended it slightly, an unspoken gesture that he wanted to cover the meal in advance. Emily stepped back to take the card when something small fluttered to the ground. It was a photograph, a simple, worn Polaroid, no larger than her palm. She bent quickly to retrieve it, only to freeze mid-motion. Her eyes widened, the tray in her hand wobbled slightly, and she had to clutch it to keep it steady. The photo was unmistakable. It was old, slightly faded at the edges, but there was no doubt. Her mother, smiling in a garden, wearing that same floral dress she remembered from childhood. Her mother had loved that dress. Emily had never seen this photo before, but she knew that face better than her own. She stared at it for a long moment, her hand trembling. Alexander noticed her stillness. He looked up, puzzled. "Is something wrong?" She slowly rose, holding the photo like it was made of glass. Her voice came out hoarse, uncertain. "Sir, why is my mother's picture in your wallet?" For the first time, Alexander's expression faltered. His eyes flicked down to the photo in her hand. His mouth parted slightly, as if to speak, but no words came out. Emily stood frozen in place, staring at him, the bustling restaurant around them suddenly distant and muted. The world felt like it had tilted sideways. The man everyone whispered about, the billionaire CEO with his impenetrable image, now stared back at her with an unreadable expression, his gaze locked on the image of a woman she thought was only hers. Her fingers tightened around the photo. And in that moment, she knew her world was about to change. Emily followed him through the swinging kitchen door, past confused cooks and curious glances, into a quiet private dining room toward the back of the restaurant. It was rarely used, reserved for celebrities or clients with secrets. Tonight, it held only a small table, a bottle of unopened wine, and the thick silence between them. Alexander closed the door behind them, his movements controlled but slow, as if every motion had suddenly gained weight. Emily stood near the wall, still holding the photograph, her eyes flitting between the worn edges of the picture and the man standing before her. He didn't sit, neither did she. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice shaky but firm. "I didn't mean to pry. I had to ask." He looked at her carefully. Then, after a pause, he spoke. "No need to apologize." There was a long beat of silence. He took a breath and stepped forward slightly. "Her name was Anna," he said, his voice quieter now. "Anna Carter, right?" Emily nodded, the knot in her throat growing tighter. "She was my mother," she whispered. Alexander glanced down, something shifting in his expression, some shadow of memory passing over him. He gestured gently toward the photo still in her hand. "That picture is all I had of her. For almost 30 years. Emily looked at him, her confusion deepening. "How did you even know her?" His jaw tightened. He turned away, walking slowly toward the window, hands in his pockets. I wasn't always the man you see now, he said. Not even close. When I was 19, I was broke, angry, reckless. My father had thrown me out after I refused to join the family business. Thought I was just a disappointment. Maybe I was. Emily said nothing, her heart thudding in her chest. I was staying wherever I could. Couch surfing, sometimes the streets. One night, I was walking home from a warehouse job. Got jumped in Queens. 2 guys with knives. They took everything I had, which wasn't much. Left me in an alley. He turned back to her, eyes shadowed by memory. And then, she found me. Emily's breath caught. She was walking home from a night shift, he continued. A nurse, I think. She didn't ask questions. She just helped. Took me into her apartment. Cleaned me up. Fed me soup. Sat next to me until I stopped shaking. Emily's grip on the photo tightened. That sounds like her, she murmured. She didn't want anything in return, he said softly. Wouldn't even give me her full name. Said it wasn't about that. Just told me to take care of myself. He gave a small, dry laugh. I tried to find her after. I went back to the building. But the apartment was empty. The landlord said she'd moved out the next morning. Disappeared like she was never there. Emily blinked. She never told us that story. Never once mentioned you. She wouldn't, he said with a soft smile. She didn't want praise. I kept that picture. She must have dropped it or left it behind. I carried it with me ever since. Through every deal, every failure, every success. It reminded me that someone believed in me before I ever gave them a reason to. There was silence. Emily's eyes were wet now, but she didn't look away. She died when I was 12, she said. Car accident. My brother was 7. After that, things got hard. Alexander's expression turned pained. I'm sorry, he said. And this time, it didn't sound like an empty phrase. It sounded like grief. She always gave everything, Emily said, her voice breaking. Even when she had nothing left. He nodded, stepping a little closer. She saved my life, he said quietly. And now, all these years later, it's her daughter standing in front of me. They stood in silence for a long moment, the weight of shared history stretching between them. Neither of them quite knew what to say next. But, neither moved to leave, not yet.